The courier run was quiet until the console lit up with a distress call, a human frequency screaming for help in an empty system. Barbara Kerrigan's hand moved before she thought. 63 years old, retired, but the reflex was still there.
That signal pattern. Clean. Too clean for a civilian in trouble.
Regulation said, stay en route. She'd written that regulation herself in another life.
Barbara Kerrigan to unknown vessel. Read you. Sitrap.
Static answered. The signal repeated, unwavering, like a recording on loop. She stared at the waveform. Every peak and trough was mathematically perfect. No panic, no interference. Just a machine pretending to be a dying crew.
I know this pattern. I knew it 40 years ago.
The Cormorant's computer flagged the call as fraudulent. She overrode it. She banked the ship hard toward the signal. Some rules you followed because they were right. Some you broke for the same reason. The signal led her to a derelict freighter, drifting dead in the void. No lights, no movement. Just the looped call.
Cormorant to distressed vessel. I am on approach. Do you copy?
The only reply was the looped distress call, unbroken. It didn't waver, didn't acknowledge her.
Every instinct is screaming. A genuine rescue never sounds this clean.
She ran a deep scan. The ship was intact, no breach, no radiation leak. Yet, the signal insisted there were survivors.
If I am wrong, those people die. If I am right, I'll deal with that.
She armed her point defense systems, a precaution she hadn't taken in years. The old reflexes never really left.
I am coming in. Keep your transponder lit.
The derelict hung motionless, a perfect lure. She pushed her throttle forward anyway. The Cormorant slid into final approach. Some traps you had to walk into to make sure no one was left inside. The derelict freighter sat in the void, still and silent, its distress called the only sign of life, a lie that had drawn her here.
No one home. Just a recording. I should have known.
The trap sprang with a jolt. A tractor beam locked onto the Cormorant's hull, yanking her off course with brutal force. 3 pirate ships shimmered out of stealth, surrounding her in a perfect kill box. Scarred hulls, weapons glowing red.
They've done this before. And they're very, very good.
Good Samaritan. Always so predictable. You people never learn.
Predictable. He has no idea what I've seen. What I can do.
The tractor beam dragged her closer. Her thrusters fought back, but the lock was solid.
Don't bother running, old woman. You are already ours.
Barbara didn't answer. She killed the thrusters and began to think hard. A channel opened, and the pirate captain's voice filled her cockpit. He sounded almost bored.
Name's Cale Voss. You've just become the latest rescue to never make it home.
Cale Voss. I'll remember. What do you want with an old courier?
What I want doesn't matter. You fell for the distress call. That's the game. We've been running that loop for 6 months. 14 ships, 14 crews, all gone.
14. The number hit her like a punch, but her voice stayed level.
So the signal was never real. Just bait for bleeding hearts. Keep him talking. Every word gives me time to think.
Bleeding hearts pay well. Your ship has decent salvage. Now kill your comms and prepare for boarding.
She didn't move. Not yet. Her eyes flicked to the old signal analyzer still running in the background. The old military signal analyzer, still spooled in her secondary core, caught a pattern beneath the distress call. It flagged a 40-year-old encryption, a false flag code used in the border war. Designation, Sundown.
Sundown. The call bait the Alliance used to lure our patrols. I broke that code myself during the war. The back door should still work.
The pirates had stumbled upon a relic signal, but they didn't know it carried a kill switch only a handful of veterans could trigger. Barbara kept her voice even, responding to Cale with practiced distraction, while her fingers prepped the override sequence.
Cut the comms now, old woman. I won't ask again.
Almost there. The board's a mess. This bucket's older than I am.
Every second of delay was a second. She was translating the sundown pattern into a trick the pirates' own systems would obey. 14 ships before her. But none of them had been flown by someone who'd fought the Sundown War. The cormorant's stale air vanished, and for an instant she was 24 again, strapped into a Gravenstein fighter at the Sundown Nebula. The same perfect signal pattern had lit her HUD then, a cry for help that was never human, luring patrols into kill zones. Her squadron had lost 3 ships to that trick before they cracked the enemy's hidden failsafe. The Alliance had built a diagnostic backdoor into every sundown lure, a shutdown command triggered by a coded override.
We used that back door to turn their own trap against them, and it's still there.
She remembered the override sequence like muscle memory from a war that never really ended.
Initiate override. Sundown 719. That's the kill.
She opened a silent subroutine, cueing the command behind the static of her stalled comms. Her fingers moved not to surrender, but to arm the only weapon that could crack a 40-year-old ghost. The pirates still thought they'd caught just another courier. They'd learn soon enough.
Open your airlock now, or we'll cut through your hull.
I am trying, but the mechanism's seized. This ship is old.
Ren, the pirate tech, wasn't buying it. He leaned into his console and started an aggressive deep scan of the cormorant's systems, looking for any hidden activity.
She's got something running in the background. Might be trying to tie us up.
Barbara countered with an old ACM ghost, a false sensor echo she'd programmed decades ago to fool enemy targeting locks during the war.
The signal's bouncing all over. I can't pin down what she's doing.
I don't care. Cut through the hull now.
He's bluffing. They need the ship intact for salvage, but he's getting desperate.
She bought another 60 seconds. In her secondary core, the sundown override sequence was nearly cued to transmit, but the tension in Kale's voice was climbing. He wasn't going to wait much longer, and Ren's scans were getting sharper by the second, narrowing down to her core processor.
You've got 60 seconds to open that airlock, or I'll disable your ship with an ion cannon. Choose.
The Wraith's forward cannon began to glow, a deep blue charge building. They weren't bluffing.
60 seconds is tight, but it's enough if the sequence is ready.
She keyed the airlock to open after a 30-second delay and spooled the thrusters for a full reverse burst.
All right, Kale, don't fire. I am cycling the airlock now.
Behind the compliant tone, she armed the override and synced it with a full-power escape burn.
10 seconds after the airlock pops, I hit full reverse. The beam will snap.
The cormorant's hull groaned as power surged, but she held the ship steady, counting down the seconds. On her hidden screen, the sundown override shone green, ready to transmit the moment she broke free. She exhaled, tightening her grip. The game was about to change. The airlock cycled open with a hiss, and exactly 10 seconds later, Barbara punched the thrusters to full reverse. The tractor beam screamed as it snapped, recoiling into the Wraith's emitter with a violent jolt that threw the pirate ship sideways.
Free. Now run.
She kicked the cormorant into a wild corkscrew, engines flaring, and dove behind a cluster of asteroids.
She's running. All batteries. Fire! Don't let her reach the field.
The Wraith's ion cannon discharged, a blue lance that missed the cormorant's hull by meters, vaporizing a small rock instead.
She's not just running. She's heading deeper into the belt, where our scans can't track.
Barbara smiled grimly. She knew these rocks like the back of her hand. The pirates were entering her terrain.
Then get in close. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed.
The Wraith and its 2 escorts banked hard, cutting thrust to match her turn, starting the deadliest game of tag Barbara had played in 40 years. Barbara threaded the cormorant through the densest part of the asteroid field, the old freighter shuddering with each sharp turn.
They're heavy ships. One wrong twitch and a rock will gut them.
The wraith barreled in after her. A jagged rock clipped its port nacelle, showering sparks and throwing the pirate ship into a brief spin.
She's insane. That last rock took out our port shields. We can't keep this up.
Shoot her down. I want that engine dead.
A laser bolt from the wraith struck the cormorant's port engine. The power coupling blew, and the ship lurched violently.
Main bus is fried. Rerouting to battery. One more hit and I am done.
She dumped the port engines, fail-safe, and redirected power to the thrusters. The damaged nacelle held, pushing her deeper. Behind, the wraith slowed to navigate the debris, its hull scarred. The gap widened, but the pirates were still coming. The asteroid field stretched ahead, darker and more treacherous. She needed a way to end this chase, and the sundown override was waiting. She toggled the hidden switch and punched the manual transmit key. The sundown override burst toward the wraith on a tight beam carrier wave. Inside the wraith, every weapon console froze, then cascaded into a diagnostic lockout. Targeting reticles went dark.
What, the sundown override? That's a 40-year-old military kill code. My boards are locked.
I don't care what it is. Get my targeting back online now.
They never updated their firewalls. The back door is wide open.
The wraith's weapon ports went dormant mid-charge. The escorts veered, confused, their own systems catching the override ripple.
You've been outfoxed by an old woman in a rust bucket. Get that override scrubbed.
I can't. It's baked into the Alliance firmware. This is gonna take at least 10 minutes to bypass.
Barbara let out a breath. 10 minutes. In a chase that was a lifetime, but she still had a wounded ship and no guarantee the fleet would hear her. The window was open, but it wouldn't stay open forever. She grabbed a grease-stained pad and began scribbling jump vectors, cross-checking with a cracked star chart from her glove box.
No computer means no safety net. One wrong digit, and I'll jump into a star.
Ren's voice crackled over the dying comms, a mix of rage and panic. The override was cracking.
Her drive is spooling. That rust bucket's gonna jump. Kale, she's burning out.
Barbara ignored him, punched the final coordinate into the manual input, and jabbed the override to force the jump initiator.
The old route to the comm relay hasn't changed in 20 years. It'll hold.
The cormorant's frame groaned as a hyperspace window tore open ahead, crackling with unstable energy. Warning lights screamed. She had seconds before the window collapsed.
Come on, old girl. Just this one jump.
She slammed the throttle forward, and the cormorant vanished into the vortex, leaving the pirates in a flash of dying light. The cormorant dropped out of hyperspace in a shower of sparks, tumbling toward an ancient military comm relay, still broadcasting its dead channel tone.
The relay's old, but it still works. This is my only shot to warn them.
She compressed everything. The derelict coordinates, 14 lost ships, the sundown pattern, and Kale Voss's voice on a looped recording.
Fleet Command. This is retired Captain Kerrigan. Pirates operating fake distress signals in Sector 7, sending evidence now.
On the fleet cruiser bridge, Commander Hayes stared at the incoming alert. An old sundown flag scrolled across her screen.
This code's been dead for decades. Someone's using it against pirates.
Before she could respond, a hyperspace rupture tore open less than a kilometer away. The wraith emerged, hull blackened, weapons rebooting.
They burned their coils to catch me. The override is spent.
Navigation. Plot and intercept course. I want a full strike package ready.
Barbara shoved the throttle to its limit, racing for the nearest debris cloud. The message was in the wind, but the pirates were almost on her.
I want that freighter in pieces. All batteries. Unload everything we've got.
The wraith unleashed a full salvo. Plasma bolts hammered the cormorant's stern, shearing off armor plates and fracturing the hull. Inside the cockpit, gravity stuttered. Barbara's shoulder slammed into the emergency panel, her left arm blistering from a ruptured conduit.
Don't pass out. The eject lever is right there. Don't use it.
She yanked the eject override cover shut and punched it sealed with a fist. No pod. No surrender.
If I bail, they'll know I've got nothing left. Better to let them think I am still armed.
She's venting atmosphere. She's finished. One more shot and she's dust.
He was almost right. The Cormorant's reactor was bleeding coolant, and the main drive was down to 12%.
You want my ship? You'll have to earn it. Come and get me, pirate.
She killed the auto-stabilizers and went fully manual. The Cormorant shuddered, but stayed in the fight, and so did she.
They think I am done. That's my advantage.
She reached up and cut the life support circuit. The air went still as power surged to the weapon systems.
1 torpedo left. That's all I need.
She armed the warhead and punched in a manual target lock on the Wraith's reactor core. Alarms screamed in protest.
If this missile hits, their reactor goes critical. We both go up.
She pushed the throttle to maximum. The damaged engine screamed, but the ship lunged forward on a direct collision vector. On the Wraith, Ren's console lit up with a collision warning. The old woman wasn't running anymore. She was charging.
You wanted my ship? Here it comes.
The Cormorant closed the gap, trailing smoke and sparks. A dying bird turning into a missile. Barbara held the stick with a burned hand and a steady gaze. There was no hesitation left. On the Wraith's bridge, the collision alarm howled. Cale's face drained as he saw the torpedo streak toward his aft shields. Barbara's finger squeezed the trigger at 200 meters. The last torpedo shot from its tube and closed the gap in a heartbeat. The warhead detonated against the rear shield. A blue shockwave rippled through the hull, cascading into the power grid. The Wraith's engines groaned and died. Every light across every deck flickered and went dark. Barbara hauled the stick, forcing the Cormorant into a violent roll. The shockwave slammed her against the straps.
The torpedo did its job. They're dead in the water. So am I.
The Cormorant's reactor sputtered, its groan fading to silence. Emergency lights died one by one. 2 ships, 500 meters apart, drifted in absolute silence. No thrusters, no lights, just the cold burn of distant stars.
We're dead. No power, no comms, no nothing. We're floating scrap out here.
The waiting began. 2 crews, 2 ships, 1 question. Who would wake up first? In the dark cockpit, Barbara fumbled for a med patch and sealed it over the burn on her left arm. The sting was nothing compared to the waiting.
How long until the fleet gets here? If they get here.
Old woman, I know you can hear me. Let's make a deal. Help me restart my reactor, and I'll let you go. No salvage, no hard feelings.
Let me go. He'd space me the second his guns were hot again. You've murdered 14 crews. I'd rather drift. Besides, help is already on its way.
What do you mean on its way? Who did you call?
Boss, she was at that old military relay. She could have bounced a signal anywhere.
The silence on the Wraith thickened with dread. They had no comms, no engines, and now they realized they might not be alone anymore. Barbara closed her eyes and let the cold fill the cockpit. The fleet would come. She just had to last. A rupture of white light split the blackness. The fleet cruiser cut into real space directly between the 2 dead ships.
Pirate vessel Wraith, this is Commander Hayes of the Terran fleet. You are outgunned and disabled. Surrender immediately.
No, we had her. We had them all.
Cale slammed his fist through the dead, targeting console, showering sparks across the dark bridge. It didn't change anything.
Last chance. Stand down or we'll disable your life support.
Fine, we surrender. Shut it down.
Marine shuttles crossed the gap in seconds. Airlocks breached, boots hit the deck, and within minutes, Cale Voss was in cuffs.
14 crews. They'll get their names back now.
A vast tractor beam enveloped the crippled Wraith. The Cormorant, battered and dark, was gently guided toward the cruiser's hangar. It was over. The trap had caught a predator. Barbara was escorted to the cruiser's briefing room, her burned arm wrapped in a fresh bandage. Commander Hayes was waiting.
Captain Kerrigan, your report says you single-handedly identified and disabled a pirate operation that killed 14 crews. That's not courier work. The fleet owes you a debt. We're offering you a commendation and a full salvage bounty on the Wraith.
A bounty. Enough to retire on. Or enough to turn the Cormorant into a new ship. I don't need a medal, Commander. Just doing my job.
Hayes studied her for a moment, then nodded, understanding she hadn't done it for recognition. Barbara uploaded her complete sensor logs and the Sundown override code to the cruiser's database.
We'll send out a fleet-wide warning. No one else falls for this scam.
The text confirmed the override code was an Alliance backdoor from the border war, still active in any unpatched system. Barbara's decision was made. She'd go back to her route, but the galaxy was a little safer now. The hangar bay cycled, and the Cormorant slipped out into the void. Fresh hull patches gleamed under the distant stars.
Held together with tape and hope. But she's mine. She'll fly.
She nudged the throttle, and the old freighter answered, gliding toward the edge of the cruiser's shadow.
Feels good to be back. Just a courier. No battle, no trap.
Behind her, the cruiser's comm array flared to life, broadcasting on every civilian channel. Fleet Command warns pirates using fake distress signals. Confirm all calls before responding. 14 crews lost.
They'll hear it now. No one else falls for this.
She switched to her courier frequency. The familiar static crackled like an old friend. The Cormorant banked onto its old route, engines humming a steady, deep rhythm. She didn't look back. The trap was broken, and the 14 could finally rest. Days later, the Cormorant hummed through a quiet trade lane. A fresh cargo of grain locked in the hold. It was as uneventful as courier runs got.
Just the way I like it. No surprises.
Then the familiar ping cut through the silence. A distress call icon flashed on her console, red and urgent.
Another one. Could be real. Could be another trap.
Her hand didn't move toward the throttle. Instead, she brought up the signal analyzer and listened. Really listened.
Frequency shift is organic. There's a voice underneath. Real panic. Not a loop.
The old lessons held. She heard the cracks in the voice, the irregular breath of someone afraid.
This one's real. Cormorant to distressed vessel. I hear you. Sending coordinates.
She banked the ship, not with the blind instinct of before, but with the slower certainty of someone who'd learned the difference between a trap and a real cry. The course was set, locked into the nav computer. Barbara let the stars steady around her.
Another crew that'll make it home. That's all that matters.
The Cormorant's engines hummed a low, steady tone. The cockpit bathed in the soft light of a distant nebula. She reached over and flicked the autopilot off, returning to manual control. Old habits held.
The ship feels right in my hands again. Like nothing ever happened.
Outside, the battered freighter slid past swirls of violet and gold, a tiny shape against the cosmic drift. The distress call was fading behind her now, a receding echo in the comm log.
I'll always answer. I'll just listen first.
She pressed the throttle forward, and the Cormorant answered with a surge of steady power. The Cormorant dwindled into the starfield, a speck of persistence against the infinite dark, and it kept flying.